I just want to review some of the things we've covered in Unit 5 before you take your Boss Battle number 5 today. So let's review what are decimal models. So Unit 5 is all about multiplying and dividing decimals with and without models. So it's important to know what my models represent. So a whole block, remember, is one whole. Then we also have a tenth or 1/10, and then we also have 1/100th. Right there, 1/100th. So just keep these pieces in mind: one whole, 1/10, and 1/100th as you look at your models today. So if I have this problem here, and I wanted you to write me an equation for multiplication and division, you have to know in multiplication, remember multiplication is equal groups. What is multiplication? Equal groups. So when I'm writing a multiplication sentence, I'm going to say I have 1, 2, 3 groups. So 3 times the number in each group. Well, in one group here, remember this is one whole. These are tenths, so I have 2 tenths. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 hundredths. Well, that's my expanded notation of the number. So 1 and 24 hundredths. Each group is exactly the same. So 3 times 1 and 24 hundredths would be my multiplication expression. Now, if I am wanting to divide my number, when you divide, you have to know the total amount. So if I'm thinking division, I need to ignore the 3 circles and think in all my models together, what do I have? Well, I have 1 whole, 2 wholes, 3 wholes. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hundredths. So if I combine all of those together, my total amount in my model is 3 and 72 hundredths. So when you are multiplying, that is equal groups. When you are dividing, you need to know the total. So my total is 3 and 72 hundredths. But then I'm thinking, how many groups do I have? I'm dividing 3 and 72 hundredths, my total amount here, by 1, 2, 3. So 3 and 72 hundredths divided by 3. That is how I would write equations for models. Now, sometimes we have models like we just saw. Sometimes we have a hundredths block that we kind of have to color in. If I have 3 groups, I'm going to have 3 groups of 23 hundredths. I am going to color in 23 hundredths, 10, 20, 3 hundredths. This is 23 hundredths right here. Now, my equation says I have it 3 times. So then this would be 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And then I would have one more group because it's 3. So this is 4. And this would be 10. So that's 14. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So this is how I would represent 3 times 23 hundredths here. I've got my 3 groups. Now, if you were dividing, if you had this model and you had to write an equation for division, you need to know the total amount shaded, which would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 69 hundredths, divided by your number of groups, which is 3, and that would equal the amount in each group. Remember that multiplication and division are fact families. So if you notice, your product and your dividend are the same in multiplication and division. And then my factors are going to be my divisor and my quotient, as are my factors. So remember that multiplication is related. There is one more way we represent multiplication. This is where we look at 4/10 of 9/10. This is where we'd color in 4/10. I can color in 4 columns. This would be 4/10 down here. And then I can color in 9/10 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9/10 rows shaded in. Now remember that your product is where they overlap. So my product is represented right here. I know my product would be 36/100ths. If models are confusing, remember you can always use the standard algorithm to multiply. 4 times 9 would be 36. Then I have behind my decimal 2 digits, moving my decimal 2 places. 36/100ths, I get that answer either way. So we just practiced drawing and filling in a model, but most times what you'll see is a model asking for the equation. So if it is asking for multiplication, you need to look at your groups. So looking at my columns here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, and remember that each column is worth 1/10, so that would be 6/10. And on my rows here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. Each row is worth 1/10, so that would be 6/10. Your product is represented where it overlaps, which you're not counting the X's, you're counting the squares, which I know 6 times 6 would be 36, but if I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Remember that each square represents 1/100th, so that would be 36/100ths. Remember that when we are multiplying decimals, you do not have to line up the decimals. Multiplication is the only time you do not have to line up the decimals. So when I am multiplying, I multiply like normal. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. Now, just like I would normally if I didn't have decimals, I now have to put digit man. Don't forget about digit man. Then I have 7 times 4, which is 28. 7 times 3, which is 21, 22, 23. Don't forget to add what you have to carry. And then I have 7 times 5, which is 35, 36, 37. Now, those are my partial products. Notice how I'm ignoring the decimal. I'm going to find my product. 8, 6 plus 8 is 14, 4, 8, and 3. Now, this is when we move the decimal. Once we add our 2 partial products, now we can move the decimal. We're looking back up at our factors here, and we are counting the numbers behind the decimal. I have the 4, the 2, and the 7, which means I need to move my decimal place 3 places. 1, 2, 3, putting 3 digits behind my decimal. So remember that when we are dividing decimals, you divide like normal. I highly recommend you make groups of your divisor. In this problem, my divisor is 24. So I know that 24 times 1 is 24. If I add another 24, that would be 24 times 2, which would be 48. If I add another 24, that would be 24 times 3, which would be 72. If I add another 24, that would be 96, which is 24 times 4. If I add another 24, that would be 120, which is 24 times 5. And I could keep going until I wanted to stop. Make sure that you are adding correctly. So that way you don't mess up. It's never a bad idea to double check when you multiply too. So now if I'm dividing, 1 divided by 24 is 0. And 3 divided by 24 is, or not 3, 13 divided by 24 is still 0. Then I have 139 divided by 24. 139 divided by 24. 144 is too big, so I'm going to have to go down to 5. I can make 5 groups of 24 with 139. This is where I might want to double check 24 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Sorry, my pens are messing up. So that would be 120. And I know that that is correct over there. When I subtract 9, 3 minus 2 is 1. I have 19 left. Bring down and repeat. So I bring down my 2. 192. Well, I haven't gone up enough, so I might need to keep adding 24. 168. Plus another 24, 12, 10, 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 192. That's exactly what I just had here. 192 divided by 24 would be, that would be 7, so this would be 8. Put my 8 on top. Quotients rise. 8 times 24. I'm just going to double check and make sure I added right. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 2 is 16, 17, 18, 19. Be 192. So I did add correctly. 192 minus 192 would be 0. Now for your decimal, remember that decimal just goes straight up to your quotient. So my decimal is going to go right there. My product is 58 hundredths. There are a couple of questions that you will have to estimate to solve. Remember that the word estimate is telling you to round before solving the problem. The whole point of estimation is making it easier to solve the problem. So round before solving the problem. Also, you will have one question that will ask you to solve order of operations with decimals. Remember, the P stands for parentheses and brackets. The E is for exponents, which we do not do in 5th grade. Multiply and divide, whichever comes first from left to right. And then add and subtract, whichever comes first, left to right. Use all your tools available to you when you take this test. There are 11 questions for you to complete. Do your best and earn your Star Wars badge.